Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode about the movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and for this week's episode, I'll be talking about the films I watched this past month. Now, this was meant to come out on Friday, as I had said, that was the plan. However, like last time I tried to do this, I got sick before I could do it, so I was not able to record it, and I didn't want to record something while I was sick, because that does not be good for you guys. So I had decided to record it and release it out on Monday, and that'll be this week's episode. And then the next 3 weeks will be covering that director's filmography I mentioned, and hopefully I will be able to get those out, and we'll get those ready for you. I've got one of those recorded. I just need to do some editing on it, and then that'll be done. And then I've got one to plan to record for tomorrow, and then I'll have the third one planned to record after that. And I think that'll lead into November then. If I'm relatively sure. Yeah, that'll lead into November, which will be covering the films that I watched in the previous month in October. So I feel I will say there is a slight possibility that after the 1st of November, there might not be an episode the week after, because I believe I mentioned it before that I'm in the final few weeks of high school, and so I will be graduating in like about little over a month and a half maybe. So there might not be any episodes for November, and there's a very good chance I probably won't do something for November. I know that is going to be disappointing, but I might take the month of November off. Honestly, I might do my talking about the films I watched if I get time to do that, and if not, I'll just do that in December. But there's a very good chance that'll be the only thing I release in November, which is unfortunate. But unless I get some stuff pre-recorded to release during that time, I will do. But there's no guarantee, so I feel like that's important for me to say that right now. And I will say with these episodes, I'm just talking about the films I watched this month. There's like no editing from when I'm just sort of speaking, and they only go for like 20 minutes already. There's no need to do anything. There's no tangents. There's me just talking about the films that I watched, and so there's nothing that I need to do. So I didn't watch that many films in the past month. I don't know why. I just wasn't really in watching a lot of films. I've been watching a lot more television. I did watch a few films, but not as many as I would have done, as I usually do in previous months, which is unfortunate. But there's a very good chance that by the end of next month, when I get to November, I will have watched a lot more stuff, because I've got some episodes prepared, and I do need to watch some things for upcoming episodes, and I might just rewatch some stuff that I haven't seen in years, or just watch some sort of light fluff stuff, while I do my studying and stuff. So anyway, this will be a quicker one than usual because of how everything's going, and yeah. So, and I will also point out in future that editing might not be like as slick as it sometimes is, and as good, because just because it is, and I won't be able to really to fine tune everything. There is stuff that it being the end of my time in high school, I am very focused on that, and I'm slightly worried that I won't do well, because let's be honest, that's just how I am, and I do want to do well, and I do want to graduate, and get all the stuff I need for university and everything. But I don't want to think about that, because that's not what this is about. This is about talking movies, about having fun and engaging with you guys. So, just time to go through the films that I watched in the past month, and then next week will be beginning of a trilogy of episodes. So, first off, Quantum of Solace, the second Daniel Craig Bond film, perhaps the worst Bond film ever. There's a couple I haven't seen yet, but it's probably the worst. It's definitely the worst of the official canon of Bond. It's just got nothing good in it. There's nothing. Well, it's not a 1 out of 10 movie. It's not the worst one I've ever seen, but it's not good. It is a perfectly serviceable. Not perfectly serviceable. It's so dreadful, especially because Casino Royale is so good, and probably my favorite Bond film. It sucks that Quantum of Solace is just not good. Uh, it just sucks that it's really bad. Honestly, I wish that I liked it, Honestly, I really wish that it was good, but it wasn't. It was just crap. I mean, Daniel Craig gives a decent performance. I would argue he's the best Bond, but beyond that, there's nothing really else. The action scenes are interesting. They at least try to do interesting things, but they're not. They're very poorly shot. The editing and all that is just frantic and just dreadful. And I probably will put this as the worst Bond film at some point. I'm planning at some point, I'm probably going to do a list talking about my ranking of all Bond films. Especially because No Time to Die is coming out soon, so I might watch all the Bond films and then watch No Time to Die and then release my ranking after that. When I've seen it, and I've seen them all. Then after that, I watched Bringing Out the Dead, which is a really good film, which was in comparison much better. For those who don't know, it's Nicolas Cage who plays a paramedic. There's also John Goodman who also plays a paramedic, and I think Patricia Arquette as well, from my memory, I think was in it. And it's essentially about these paramedics, and it's sort of about the analysis of Nicolas Cage sort of going a bit mad as sort of he sees ghosts of the people that he failed to save, and it's probably his second best performance ever. The only one I put better is his performance in Leaving Las Vegas, which is a phenomenal film that I need to watch again and would be very interested in covering on the podcast, because I think it's a film that, while is known, people haven't seen it. Although, to be fair, I would very much like to do Leaving Las Vegas on the podcast, because it's a film I haven't watched in a good couple years. And I love it to bits. And I love Nicolas Cage in it as well, because I love Nicolas Cage in everything. But Bringing Out the Dead is quite a good film. It's very well made on a technical level. There's some really interesting stuff they do with the camera techniques and the editing, and there's just sort of various bits where you can see Nicolas Cage's character in sort of the debilitating mental state he's at. And sort of the way he's sort of seeing things and how everything's sort of changing for him. For the worse, of course. And yeah, it's a really, really quite good film. And I do recommend you go see it if you haven't seen it. It's one of Martin Scorsese and Paul Schrader, so hence it's good, because Taxi Driver is great as well. Then I rewatched the film Don John. I covered that on an episode of the podcast a few weeks ago. And if you haven't listened to that, just general thoughts. I love the film. I think it's fantastic. One of my all-time favorites. Which is interesting. I know a lot of people quite like it, and I like it too. I think it's fantastic. But it's very much like a film that I can understand why some people don't like. And if you listen to the episode, I was the much more positive of us, and the other person who I was with, who I recorded the episode with, was less positive. They liked the film, but very much didn't like the film as much as I did, which is fair enough. It's sort of a film that I just that really works for me, and I think there's a lot of stuff in it that is just very good in it. And it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt written and directed, which is part of why it's so good, because I'm a very big Joseph Gordon-Levitt fan. As an actor, I think he's a fantastic actor who is able to do really good stuff. And yeah, it's just great. Then I rewatched the South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. I talked about this in a previous episode, but I rewatched it again, and it jumped up. Its score for me jumped up from I had it as an 9, but on rewatch it jumped up to a 10. It's fantastic. South Park is one of my favorite shows. I haven't watched all of it, but it's up there for favorite shows of all time, because it's just it's just so good. It's so funny. It's one of the best comedy shows ever made, and I do genuinely love it to bits. It's fantastic. And the movie is just the perfect encapsulation. It's the best of South Park, essentially. The songs in it are fantastic. I love the songs so much. The songs in it are utterly brilliant. And I know there's like still people who don't like South Park for various reasons. They don't find it funny, or I know someone who said they don't like South Park because each is just like the same joke over and over again, which couldn't be further from the truth and is honestly just kind of a bit moronic. Because it's not. It's actually quite a bit better than that. Like, it's actually a much more clever and funny show than he gives it credit for. Yes, I did say he is a he. But I do love it. It's a really great show, and the movie is also fantastic. The Suicide Squad. I finally got around to seeing that like a month too late. A month after it came out. I really quite liked it. I'm a big James Gunn fan. I think most people are. James Gunn, just sort of in a general sense, is one of my favourite directors. Like, I mean, I love the Guardians films, but I would put the Suicide Squad as his best film. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. The characters all worked for me in a way that the original Suicide Squad didn't. And I would also say that as much as I love the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and I do love the Guardians films, as much as I do love the Guardians films, I just think the Suicide Squad is better. I mean, because they're sort of similar, but also somewhat different. And I do like them, though. The Suicide Squad, I think, I particularly, David Dastmalchian and John Cena and Daniela Melchior. They're probably like the three standouts to me in terms of performances. And that's sort of just my opinion. I think it just works on a level that the original doesn't work. And I don't dislike the original. I think the original is fine. I think a lot of people were way too harsh on the original. That being said, it is much weaker in comparison. I haven't watched it in a few years. So I should probably rewatch it again, honestly. Because I don't remember. I don't think I disliked it. But yeah, it's quite good and really funny too, in a way that the Guardians films aren't, because of just what they can get away with it being, a higher rating. And I watched Team America: World Police, and I just feel like it's important to say that Trey Parker might just be is one of the most brilliant, genius writers and creators working today. I was thinking to myself of who I think are like the most clever people in terms of creating films and art and music and stuff, and I sort of came to the realization that there's like people that like just have abilities and are just good at things that I will never be able to be good at. So there's Trey Parker / Matt Stone, but because they sort of are a duo. Dan Harmon, Bo Burnham, Donald Glover, like those guys there. Probably some of the most talented people in the world, because they can, they've got a wide variety of, skills, acting, writing, directing, singing, lyricism, producing, editing, all these things, and it's just like, and this sort of helped exemplify that, and I do love it to bits. It's a really, really good film that I really do like quite a bit. It's, just the whole marionette aesthetic of, having the characters be on puppets and marionettes is insane, and I respect them for that wholeheartedly, because it took them a lot longer than most of their other work. Like in South Park, they make a South Park episode in a week, and in the movie probably took a little bit longer than that, of course, but it still would have probably not taken them that long. I think the songs in this are also great. There's, the classic, America, fuck yeah, because that's just, a classic song from this film. And I just think the story works. I don't really care about the relationship between the characters or the romantic / sexual relationship between the main man and main woman. But overall, it's quite a good film that I really quite enjoyed, and it was a lot of fun. And speaking of a lot of fun, Troll 2, the arguably the worst movie ever made, and I think, like, just honestly, it's a poorly made film on every level. It fails at everything it is trying to do. Like, there is, like, nothing good that the film offers. Like, honestly, like, if anyone can name a good thing in Troll 2, I would love to know, because I just think it's a very poorly made movie. That being said, I love it so much. It's just it's so bad. It's so, like, poorly made, but it is also the most amazing film ever. Like, it's just insane that, like, the film exists. It's just hysterical. Just, like, insane how funny it is, despite being shit. And, like, I do say this, I love the film so much. Like, it's amazing, and I do love it, despite the fact that it fails at being a good movie. I don't care about that, because it is hysterical how bad it is. You know, there's, like, the classic, oh my god, you know, bit that everybody knows and loves. And, I mean, I don't blame them. It's a fun scene. It's a really fun, stupid, hysterical scene. And it's just, like, it's just funny. It's genuinely just funny to me how, like, bad it is. But I will say, I love the film so much. Like, I cannot overstate how much I love the film, to the point that I'm so tempted to do an episode on this podcast about it, because I love it so much. Because it's so bad. It's so bad, but it's so good. And there's so many great bits of just, like, underrated stupidity that people don't talk. Like, everyone talks about, like, the class, like, oh my god, and, you know, all that kind of things. And the bits that, like, the trolls are, like, they're eating people, that they're not putting it in their mouth, they're, like, smushing it against their face. It's like, oh my god, that is amazing. I love this movie to bits, and I haven't seen the documentary on it yet, but I can't wait to see the documentary on it. And so, yeah, I just cannot get overstate how much I love this film. Oh my god, it's insane. And now, next, I rewatched In Bruges. I'm not gonna give too many thoughts on it, because I've got an episode recorded for it to be released next week. It's meant to come out today. Well, yeah, but that didn't happen. But I'll just say this: it's good. And then I watched. And that's it, actually. That's all I watched this month. I rewatched In Bruges, and that was it. I thought I had an extra. Sorry. So it's even less than I thought. So yeah, that was this week's episode. It's a little shorter than they usually are, but I had less films to get through, so I'm surprised I got it to the length I did. I'm just looking at the thing now. But anyway, thank you for listening to this week's episode. Sorry that this was an hour on Friday like I had planned, but as I said, I got sick, and so I couldn't get the thing out. But don't worry. And then the next 2 weeks, it'll be it'll be a 3-parter episode. It'll be a 3-part thing. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.